Thanks for tuning in to Hobbs and Horror Movie Review Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hobbs and Horror. I'm Eric.
Guac. Brosnan.
I'm Patrick Swayze.
And we're back with another episode. The movie of the day was Dentention. And I think I looked this up, and I think it was a 5.8 IMDb rating.
All right. Cool.
So, what do we got to say about Dentention?
Well, so Gavin, I'm going to sum this up before you give the actual description.
Yes.
I'm going to say, and tell me if I'm leaving anything out. Okay. This movie was like if there was an orgy where the movie Scream showed up.
Yep.
The movie Back to the Future showed up.
Okay.
The movie Freaky Friday showed up.
Yeah.
And I think there's one other one that I'm missing out.
I think Breakfast Club's a big one.
Breakfast Club.
Definitely Breakfast
and
Club.
Then they're all getting it on while Dane Cook is jerking off silently in the corner.
I don't think I would have put it that way, but you're not wrong.
Okay.
So do I need to describe the plot?
Yes. Actually, give us
There's a lot going on in this movie.
Yeah. So this movie takes place mostly in 2011 in Grizzly Lake, which is a nice community with a nice high school, and we follow the students there while there is a serial killer on the loose who is wearing a costume from a popular movie series of the time. So they're like redoing. It's kind of like a Scream 2, like dressing up as Scream, kind of like that. So this is going on. So the kids are like worried about the serial killer on the loose, but that's just like the tip.
Yeah,
because there's time travel elements. There's a world-ending bomb. There's all kinds of random. There's a man who can puke acid and has sticky fly.
Yeah, I want to know what that was all about.
There's alien abductions.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a little bit of everything. The basic story is this is a high school and there's a serial killer on the loose, but really that's not the part that's gonna really get your attention.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the fact that there's a girl that switches bodies with her mother.
Yeah, that's where the Freaky Friday part comes in.
And
yes,
it's just
then becomes pregnant by the principal and becomes her own self. Yeah. Gives birth to herself.
Oh yeah, that's right. To be clear, she goes back to the past and gets pregnant with herself, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah. Which I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah.
But let's go with it, I guess.
So what did you guys think of this movie?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was I'm not going to give this one a real high rating. I think there was a lot going on. It was kind of hard to follow for me anyway. But it was it was fun kind of seeing all the different kind of things that they put together, like I said, all of the it definitely took from Scream, and they actually referenced that in the movie. I was like thinking it, I was like, man, this movie's a complete ripoff of Scream, and then of course they mention it, so it gets them off the hook.
Yeah.
And then
they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. What about you, Gavin? What do you think?
So I want to give a little backstory to this. During the pandemic times, there's a friend of mine, and his name is Jason, but it's not you.
Okay.
and he would have these regular online screenings where he would do movie blocks, sometimes double feature, sometimes it'd be like a 12-hour just thing.
Yeah.
And so people from all over could log on to these. He'd stream them online, and you could watch them in this little chat area and stuff. And I sat in on a lot of these, and this guy knows more movies than anybody I've ever met. Like, it's phenomenal. Anyway, so during one of these things, he does an annual blind lineup, and this was on the blind lineup, and I had never heard of it. I mean, like, it came out in 2011. Like, you'd think I would have been like aware of this movie,
Sure.
but I wasn't. And so I saw it. Everybody sitting in on that was like really impressed. By the time that movie was done streaming, there were 5 people in the chat who had gone onto Amazon and ordered a copy.
Really?
That's how much of an impression it left on me.
Really?
Yeah. So like this movie came out of the blue. Like, I don't know where it was in 2011.
Yeah.
But nobody has ever mentioned it to me. I didn't know it existed. And so that's the whole thing I want to say. It's like, I don't know where this movie came from. Like even if it's not your favorite movie, like, this is a movie you think would have caught someone's attention.
I mean, it's better than Scream 6.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that, but sure.
Right.
And it didn't. So that always really impresses me when somebody pulls something so random out that's still like, wow, like, how did I not even hear of this?
Yeah.
So I came into this today rewatching it and just being like, does this hold up from the surprise that I got last year?
Yeah.
And not to give too much away, but I think it does. I'm still as pumped now as I was then.
So I want to throw out what I thought this movie reminded me of. First of all, the one thing I really, really liked about this movie is I felt like the horror aspect of it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I also felt like if you would have ripped all the horror out of it, you still had a movie there.
Yeah.
I mean, there was enough going on besides the blood and guts of it that it would have still probably been a very good movie. And when I watched it, what I thought this movie was if you guys have ever seen the movie Not Another Teen Movie. This is not another teen movie, but they throw a bunch of horror into it.
I would say a less dark version of Not Another Teen Movie. Not Another Teen Movie was a pretty dark comedy.
Is it?
Yeah, I thought so. I mean,
really?
Yeah, I mean, the chick is having sex with her brother. Like,
she had sex with her brother?
I don't know, but I don't.
Yeah,
I know she wants to get.
Yeah, because it's a Cruel Intentions reference.
Yeah. There's some pretty dark stuff in it. This is more lighthearted than that.
But like when I say that, what I'm saying is that they took a genre of movie and they're pulling chunks out of it and they're putting it all into one movie. Right. That's where the similarity that to me comes from.
Instead, the way that they did it differently in this, I think, was that it wasn't so much of a parody. It was just borrowing all of the plots from all of these movies to make their own movie.
It wasn't so deliberately ripping it off. Like, you could even watch this movie and not even catch that they were kind of ripping things off from little other movies.
I mean, I think most people who've seen those movies are going to catch it, but it wasn't played like a comedy. It wasn't played like a parody, like a direct parody. It was more of just like, we're just going to take all of these plots, make our own movie.
Not another teen movie. Like, they go out of their way to make sure you know what they're ripping on.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me of that movie, because it has one of my all-time favorite lines in any movie. So let me just give a shout out to Not Another Teen Movie.
It's a great movie.
I'm assuming it's a prom.
Yeah.
But there's like, everybody's dancing, and one character says to another, like, who knew that we were going to a high school with all professional dancers? and I love that they called out the fact that all high school movies, the kids know how to dance.
Right.
I thought that was so great. But yeah, Detention, like, all the stuff, like, there's a few things where you can tell they're pulling it directly. It's a clear, direct reference, but it's more just like they hit on every, like, trope that you're going to see in high school movies. Like, it's not one movie they're ripping off. It's just like, if you've seen a high school movie, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
And this movie also reminds me of another movie we've actually done on this podcast.
Oh yeah.
So if you remember back when we watched Doom Generation, we all said that movie held like a certain thing to each of us because it was something we could really relate to. And I feel like this movie could achieve that exact same thing, just not with us. Probably with a different group of people. You know, like, this could be a movie that you would watch and be like, God, yeah, I totally like you would just dig it just for the idea that it would give you all this nostalgia back too.
Well, I mean, if you know, like they keep jumping back from and through these timelines, and of course, like each time they're in school, so they're going to show the fashion of the time and the music that they liked and everything that people were into at the time.
Yeah, I love that scene where they're in the detention and it's going back every couple of years, and I don't know where the hell they got the music budget from, but
right.
but I mean, like. But it's like you're really watching. They're nailing not only the song, the popular song, but like the fashions are slowly changing as they're going back. And I'm like, this is really nice.
I loved when they got to 94. I was waiting for them to get to that like mid 90s or like early 90s, and of course it was like Hole. The song was Violet by Hole.
Yeah,
which is great pick to represent that time. I would have expected like if you asked me, like, what song do you think they're going to play for 94, I would not have guessed that one.
No, I don't think most people would.
No.
But it definitely did work.
It works, yeah.
And we do have to mention one of Gavin's favorite parts where they go back to 1992 with their cell phones and they're constantly trying to find Wi-Fi to get on their cell phone, but there's no Wi-Fi anywhere.
Which went right over my head, so I'm glad he pointed that out.
Yeah, the mother-daughter swap. When the daughter goes back, she's still, the ditzy cheerleader, so she's going around trying to figure out why there's no internet.
Yeah.
I thought this was a very good movie. This movie was very, very, very fast-paced.
Yeah.
But it was tough. If I had to complain about one thing with it, it was tough because they did have so much shit going on at all times that it was kind of hard to follow. You know, what was going on, what the storyline was. And I figured as I was watching it that it would all do a very good job of pulling it together at the end. And it kind of did, but I kind of felt like it fell short. But I think this is one of those movies that each time you would watch it, it would get better and better. And maybe you can speak to that, because I think this was probably the second time you've watched this movie.
Second time, yeah.
Did it get better in your eyes, or...
I don't know if it got better.
You said you noticed things.
Well, that was the thing. So when I had watched it the first time, there was definitely moments like you're saying, like towards the end, where you're like, oh, okay, and so like this time I was like specifically watching for that. Again, the mother-daughter swap. You don't really find out about that till at least halfway through. But when you know about that going into it, it makes so much sense why the character is so obsessed with the early 90s.
Okay.
The first half of the movie. And like you find out why the bear mask, not the costume, but the actual stuffed bear, you find out why it's like magnetic and has this electric field about it.
Yeah.
Like you know about that right away, whereas if you've seen it the first time, that won't make sense until way later.
Sure.
So there are things you'll pick up on more the second time through because of the order the movie reveals itself. There are certain things that just don't make any sense until moments of flashback or
do you
whatever.
think that improved the movie, or do you think it was just I just got a more clear picture of the movie and it was still just as good, or even maybe less good the second time through?
I would say my enjoyment is about the same, but it was cool to be able to like understand earlier on what things were, because like when I'm watching a movie, I tell people this, when I'm watching a movie, like I'm always watching it as a writer. Like some people will watch a movie and they like the visuals and they'll like the acting, and I like that stuff too, but like I'm always like watching it because writing is what I'm familiar with. And so seeing the stuff that they had to put in there that they know isn't going to pay off, I like seeing that, being like, when somebody watches this, they're not going to get any of this. Like, it's going to go right over everybody. But they did it so smartly, I thought, that, you might remember if you're really good at remembering everything in the movie, which is hard because, like you said, it goes so fast.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the second time through, you'd be like, oh, you did. You left these little breadcrumbs all the way through, and we just didn't know they were there because we didn't know what was coming.
And that right there explains a lot to me why you like this movie so much, because if there is one thing that they really excelled at in this movie, in my opinion, was the writing. The writing was phenomenal in this movie. There was a lot of thought put into just the flow of this movie, everything going on. I mean, they had to spend a lot of time with that because, like I said, there was just so much going on in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the gore that they...
Yes.
Jason's like, I don't give a fuck about the
Yeah,
writing. It's
they're
about the fucking gore, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm easy to please, but like, just how... I liked kind of how unexpected the gore was. Like,
Yeah.
almost every time that something would happen, I didn't really... Even when there was like... I don't know, I just didn't see it coming. Like, even though, like, the killer would be there and everything, but for some reason, it always surprised me. I don't really know why. I don't know how to explain it any better than that, but, like, I loved when he chops the guy's arm off in the doorway, that just, like, stuff like that, I just love it.
So now,
Yeah.
and maybe I think I can explain this to you, and you tell me if you agree with this.
Sure.
I think the whole feel of this movie, it does not feel like a horror movie at all.
No.
And
No.
that's where it gets you, because then the killer comes in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not this gore that they put in this movie. This is pretty extreme. This is horror movie
Yes.
gore. It's not like something you just see when somebody gets killed in any movie. I
Yeah.
mean, like blood splattering everywhere.
Yeah.
So the whole feel of the movie is not horror at all. And then
No.
every once in a while, somebody comes in and cuts off a head and blood
Yeah.
splatters everywhere.
But it still feels the same. It's still, to me anyway, I thought it didn't change what's the word for it? Like, it didn't change the mood of the movie. It didn't change anything for me. Like, I felt like it was pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And I think it was because of the type of gore it was,
It was the very humor gore, which played really well into it. But it's still, at least for me, it threw me off every
Did it?
time because I would forget that I was even really watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it would just be like, psh, and blue blood spewed everywhere.
They even had a scene that was like kind of a throwback to Saw.
Yeah.
The chick was having to dig into her own stomach or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she couldn't because of her Pilates.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. I like the gore too, and what's really weird about that is I will always rag on movies for absolute crap CG.
Mm-hmm.
And the blood in this movie, most of it,
Yeah.
is absolute crap CG, but it so works.
It does.
Like, it seems like the right thing to do.
Mhm.
So I can't even be upset about it because I liked just the silliness of it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the only way they could do it, because in a way, that was the framework of the whole movie. It was silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, time traveling, people switching bodies, and all this
Yeah.
stuff. It was just one big joke.
Mhm.
Really,
Yeah.
one big running joke.
What do you guys think ratings on this one?
You got
We
anything
can go into ratings because I think it'll come back to me. So
Okay.
I'll start with this one
Yeah.
because I think anybody can watch this movie and at least not have very many complaints about it.
Mhm.
I'm actually going to give this. I'm not going to give this movie as high as I did last week, but I think I'm going to give this movie a 6. I thought this was pretty solid.
All right.
So
So it's not the janitor.
no, actually, I think the janitor was a 5.5.
Was it?
Yeah, but I
Oh,
gave
thought you
gave
the janitor a 10.
I gave no, I believe you guys gave the
No,
janitor
I gave it
a
like
10.
I think I gave it a 13.
But no, I gave Bad Milo last week a 6.5.
Okay.
So this is rocking pretty close to it because I
All
thought it
right.
was pretty good.
Okay. Well, I am actually gonna rate this one a little lower. Would you
Really?
say? Yeah, yours
6.
6. I'm going 5.6 on
Okay.
this one. I enjoy it, but like I said, it was really hard for me to follow it. There were certain aspects I loved about it. I love that they take all of these things and put them together and everything, but it was for my ADD brain, it was hard for me to follow, so it was hard for me to really like enjoy, because I was like, wait a minute, why is this happening or why is that happening? And they show it. It's not that they don't, it's just that the movie's moving along so fast. There's so many different movies that they're borrowing from that you might miss one thing. Like I missed I remember the bear. They go into this planet and picking up the bear or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I don't remember a lot of other things that connect to connect this all together. So for me, it was just like, wait, what's kind of going on? So that's I think part of why I really enjoyed the gore too, is because hey, if you don't know what's going on, it doesn't matter. As soon as the arms start flying off, I'm happy. You know. So I'm going to give this one like a 5 point. What did I say? 5.6.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty accurate for this one for me.
And I think I think that was because they could play it that way, where there's going to be a lot of people that are going to follow the plot line and really enjoy that. But then for the people that can't do that for whatever reason, then there's they throw that gore into there that you're like, well, I don't care if I don't really fully understand the plot line. The blood was just cool, you know. So it's kind of a good formula to follow.
I honestly, like, I know you mentioned not another teen movie, and that I did have the same thought as you about that. I wish they would make more movies like that.
Yeah,
like they don't do it anymore.
But they've made quite a few.
They have, but like most of them suck.
Oh, most of them do suck.
Yeah, like I mean, you gotta.
Yeah, teen movie is one of the better ones for sure.
Teen movie was great. I mean, it sticks out. Like I wish they would do more of that type of comedy, the parody comedy, but do it really well. You know, I think once it got to like, was it Scary Movie? You know, like the later ones and stuff, they were pretty terrible. But you know, but I enjoy a good parody. If it's done right, it's just there's so few and far between.
And I think that probably plays to the role that you don't realize it, but that's really hard to do and to nail it. You know, and that's why most of them flop. So,
well, I think part of it is like the parodies, they try to kind of water it down for general audiences. Like, you know, even the Scary Movies were PG-13, most of them. I think the first one might have been R, but after that, they were all like PG-13, and they were just like, they didn't have any balls, you know, they were just kind of silly throwaway things, and the creativity wasn't there either. I felt like in the later ones, there was one really funny scene though, and I think it was like Scary Movie 4 or some shit that I still reference.
I know I didn't get that.
I mean, I've skipped around. I've seen in like I don't know, but one of them, there's a scene where who's the golfer from fucking Happy Gilmore?
Oh, Bob Barker.
Shooter McGavin?
Shooter McGavin.
Oh, Shooter McGavin.
So Shooter McGavin is in it. Yeah. And he's like, he starts coughing. And he coughs up blood.
The character is in it or the actor's in it?
Oh, the actor. But to me, he's always Shooter McGavin.
Right, okay.
So Shooter McGavin, he's like coughing and he coughs up blood. And it's like, oh, somebody's like, oh man, dude, are you okay? And he's like, no, it's okay. It's healthy. It's healthy cough blood or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. So I don't know. I love movies like that. And, you know, even the ones that are not horror related, like, you know, Loaded Weapon 1. Oh my God, I love that movie. Even the Hot Shots movies that were
pretty good.
Pretty good.
What was the Robin Hood one?
Men in Tights.
Yeah,
Men in Tights is fantastic.
But there was like a whole bunch of those movies that came out during that time, and then all of a sudden it was like nothing. Like we're done making movies like that.
Or they just started making them bad.
I think they did.
Like if you look up Not Another, like there's a series of them, but most of them are crap.
Yeah, I mean they made like superhero movie, I think, and stuff like that are just terrible. But part of it, you know, is they're going to be bad too if the movies that they're parodying are kids movies or superhero movies. Like, how are you going to make that? You can't take a superhero movie and make fun of it, really.
I mean, you could try, but it's probably going to fail.
Yeah, and it's going to be weird if you make it dark comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But Not Another teen movie nailed it, and I wish they'd do more with that. But that's a whole other thing. And
I agree with you, and I think that might be a big part of the reason why I like this movie is just because it does have that good aspect to it. I come back to, I think they had too much going on there. Yeah. They probably could have helped themselves, but in a way, I'd also be interested. I wish this was on a streaming service so I could watch it like 4 more times, just to see how, because this very well could be a movie that if you watch it enough, you will just absolutely adore it because it'll probably all finally click together and make complete sense. Like, I bet you, Gavin, even though you're on number 2, you still don't fully have the whole movie figured out.
No,
because
there's a couple parts that I'm still like, I don't quite get how that works.
Yeah.
And maybe that will never happen. But I would still watch it a third time just to see.
So what did you give a rating?
No, I didn't.
Let's see what Gavin's got for this one. I hope it's higher.
So let me tell you, I was going to give it a 10. And then you guys kind of went lower than I
beat it
expected.
down on them. And
So I'm not going to give it a 10. I'm going to give it a 10.1.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh!
Right on.
Because you don't have to love this movie, but this to me, this real, and you can tell just how fucking pumped I am this week.
Oh yeah.
Like this is like a perfect movie to me. I could watch this repeatedly, and it's fun, and it moves quick, and and I will point out, this violates my rule, and I still like it.
What?
My rule is the perfect capped movie is 87 minutes.
Yeah.
This is 89.
93.
Oh, it's 93.
93 minutes, but it feels half of that.
Yes, it does. Actually.
But this doesn't. This I would say it gets a pass though because it's not a strict horror movie.
Yeah, I can
True.
go with that.
This is like a horror comedy, and I feel like a horror comedy, like it doesn't really matter the time as long as it's funny, as long as you can continue with that sort of mood the whole time. And
would you guys agree with it? Like, this is a horror comedy, yes, but it's way more comedy than horror.
Yeah.
So it's like stronger on the comedy side than on the horror side.
I would say generally, yeah.
So
the one thing, and I fell for this really hard when I watched it the first time. I didn't fall for it this time because I knew it was coming. You guys, let me know if you fell for this. Watching it the first time, I feel they went really hard to make you think that them dancing together at prom was like the end. Like, Mbop comes on, they're dancing, they're happy. The movie is going to wrap up and go to credits.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the first time I'm like, movie's over. And then there's still like another 10 minutes.
Yeah. And a lot happens in that 10 minutes too, so...
Yeah,
no, it's not like they just leave and then go kiss and then the movie's over.
Yeah, but it's like they got the perfect, cliche happy ending, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait a second, there's still the serial killer.
Right.
So if I had any complaint, this isn't even really a complaint, but it's just at that point where they're winding it down, then to come and bring it back. I feel like, now you gotta get people back into it after you're winding them down. But I still think it works.
Yeah, and I think they did a very good job with that.
Well, that reflects your low rating of 10.1. Yeah. So if it would have gotten a 12 otherwise.
I don't want to go above 10. I don't know what we did for Janitor. Did I go above 10 for Janitor?
I don't know. All I know is this is the first movie that we've done that I rated lower than Eric.
And it's probably going to be the last one too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, wait till you see the next movie.
But I don't want to really go above a 10 because then it just opens us up to who knows where this scale goes. I was like, I gave that a 10. Well, this one's a 25.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Gavin. Have you done research into other things the guy that did this movie has done? Like, at least the writer?
If I did, I don't remember. I do not know who made this. There's nobody associated with this movie that, means anything to me.
Because I think it's definitely worth taking a look at the writers of it and see if we can get another movie from these guys.
I don't know the writer. I don't know the director. The actors, I have no idea who they are other than Dane Cook. Who sucks, but as I said going into it today, I was like, I know Dane Cook sucks, but just go with it.
And
and he didn't suck that bad, right?
No, they really kept him out of the
Honestly,
movie as much as possible.
There's a lot of hate for Dane Cook, and I get it, and I don't like his stand up. I'm just not a fan, but I feel bad for the dude because he's kind of he's kind of gotten that carrot top sort of disrespect. And he's I've listened to him on podcasts and stuff, and he's such a nice guy. Mm-hmm. He's such a nice guy, and he's had it rough too. His brother stole a bunch of money from him and shit. He's just had a shit time. He doesn't talk to his brother anymore, because when he became famous, he had all this money. His brother just I think he stole all of his money at one point. Yeah. And so he's just kind of had a shitty hand dealt to him because he's kind of got that Vanilla Ice 1998.
Yeah,
you know,
he does.
like,
He really does, doesn't he?
you know, like, he's like really big for a little bit, and then once he's gone, he's just a joke. You know, like, and not in a good way. Not in, you know.
It's a fair defense. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, when he was big, there was some of his stand-up I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I liked the going to the party and shitting in a closet joke. Like, there's shit in this closet. There is shit in and around the coats. Like I love this. That he did a whole routine just on somebody shitting in a closet.
Yeah.
You know, there were some jokes that I really liked. I think where I personally soured on him is after he got big, they started putting him in movies, and the movies that they put him in, he was not a good character, which it's not necessarily his fault. But they kept putting him in roles where he was like the creepy, douchey guy.
Yeah, and I think that partly is just because he's got that, like, just good looking enough to be that, like, be the character in the romantic comedy. Mm-hmm. So instead of, you know, like, getting him into a movie where he can really utilize his comedy chops or whatever, like, they're kind of just using his name, his, you know, his face to just throw him into like this like watered down comedy romantic thing. And
maybe that's what his downfall is. Maybe that's why so many people hate him, is because he just kind of, I mean, to put it in a kind of a mean way, he just kind of hoard himself out and put himself on whatever he can get on. And
he doesn't have any balls.
He ruined his brand.
He doesn't have like an edge to him. Like, he just doesn't. You know, any edge that he had in his stand-up was just completely gone when they started putting him in these stupid rom-coms.
And I mean,
I haven't done this in probably 15 years, but like the jokes that I do remember from his stand-up, I don't think they would play well today. There's some really questionable stuff in there.
I rewatched one of his stand-up specials with Erin a while back because she wanted to watch it, I think, but. And she was just like, we started watching it, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can turn this off." Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's not that good. Like, you know, I always hear people say, "Well, I liked his early stuff," but I don't. I still think, you know, you take a Dane Cook stand-up special and put any other really good, like, it's not gonna hold up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not when you got people like Bill Burr and Eddie Murphy Raw, yeah. Or, you know,
it's not even Eddie Murphy Delirious.
Right.
All right, so
shout out to Eddie Murphy and his stand-up career and his fake plastic leather jacket.
He's like the Bill Cosby that never raped anybody.
That we know.
Yeah. That day hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to believe that. I want to like Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. I mean, we're the top, like, black comedians of the time. There was Murphy, there was Richard Pryor, and and then Bill Cosby. And Richard Pryor set himself on fire. And Bill Cosby's a rapist, and
we just got to hold out that Eddie Murphy doesn't do nothing surfaces because
poor Eddie Murphy. Mm-hmm. He's got to hold up the whole thing.
Right. You know what's great about Richard? What did I say?
What's great about Richard Pryor?
Yeah. So he
lighting himself on fire?
Well, because he joked about it afterwards. Like, he made jokes about him lighting himself on fire afterwards. So it was like super dark, you know. But
does Eric know about him lighting himself on fire?
Yeah, no, I have no idea, and I'm curious.
So Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but my understanding is that Richard Pryor used to freebase cocaine, which is kind of what you did before crack. And in the process of lighting his crack pipe, he somehow lit himself on fire.
Yep.
So it wasn't just he lit himself on fire. He lit himself on fire while trying to smoke crack.
That is correct. Yes. Yeah. So
that's all I got. All right.
So I think it's my pick next time. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, you can do it. Take your pick.
Okay. So the next pick is, okay, we've been watching all these, like, kind of polished studio films for
so you're just gonna fucking toilet this shit.
This
totally,
one,
aren't you?
Honestly,
we have had a good run for a bit here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna shit all over that that.
Are we gonna watch like a full moon movie now?
No,
or something? So
nothing that good. Eric.
Oh God, not even.
No. So this movie got a 2.6.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, 2.6. It's
Have
called.
you seen it?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's worth watching.
Okay.
You will enjoy it.
Okay. 2.6. That's not.
Gavin, I will say you will enjoy it.
Okay.
Eric, I'm not so sure.
I'm sure.
I'm
sure I won't enjoy
I mean,
it.
you're gonna. I think you might give this more than the 2.6 IMDb just for the entertainment value, but
It's pretty hard to hit a 2.6.
It
alone.
is.
That's a bad movie.
yes, it is. And we're gonna watch it. It's called Quigley. It's got.
Okay.
It has Gary Busey in it.
You got me there, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
You've
the
been
plot-
talking this one up for a while.
Yes,
yeah.
and I've been waiting. I've been biding my time because I wasn't sure where to fit it in, and I feel like we've watched enough like horror movies now that I can throw another one that's like kind of outside of that. It is outside of that genre, not kind of, and it be okay.
Is it
So
more or less horror than Clifford?
it is about the same.
Okay.
I mean, okay. So the plot of this one is Gary Busey's character. He's like a despicable human being. He's just a piece of shit businessman. I think I'm not sure, but he dies and he gets reincarnated as a dog to right the wrongs.
Yeah. You
in
posted a video of this in our little chat, right, or something.
I'm not sure.
I know somebody posted. I've seen a video.
Wasn't me.
No.
Yes, it was Jason.
So he comes back as a dog to like fix the mistakes he made in his life. And so the whole movie is like, it's a dog with Gary Busey's voice.
This is incredible.
But it is the most entertaining thing you will, I mean.
Well, it's Gary fucking Busey,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's got to be entertaining.
Yeah. So that's going to be my next pick. We'll be doing that one.
Oh, it does sound better than Baby Geniuses 2.
I don't think I've seen Baby Geniuses 2.
Oh,
Does Baby
And I gotta say, Gavin, you've been sending me a whole lot of like recommendations for dog movies. Like every time, like I don't know why you're watching these things, but like he sends me these links to these like, oh, this you gotta watch this one, and it's like just like Christmas dog or dog.
A dog named Christmas.
A dog named Christmas, and I feel like there's at least 2 more that you've sent me stuff on.
I know there's at least one more.
At least one more.
I can't remember what it is. It's not intentional. It's nothing to do with the dog.
Yeah, no.
A dog named Christmas, ignore the dog completely. That's not why I want you to watch it.
Okay.
I don't remember what the other one was.
It
was some other dog movie.
So I can probably clarify this for you a little bit.
Sure.
So I'm assuming that most of the time when Gavin watches movies, he's doing it at the warehouse.
Not always.
But a lot of times, and there are days when I leave the warehouse where I'm like, do you just want me to play a movie? And he's like, sure, just put something on. And I'll just pick this, I'll go into Tubi and pick the stupidest thing I can find and play it. And I think he watches at least half the movie.
So for the first couple of months of this year, I stopped doing this now. But for the first couple of months of this year, I made a point that when an actor, writer, director died, I would watch their movies. And I stopped doing that because one, there's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of people that die.
A lot of people die. And 2, most of it was like in genres that I really just don't care about. Like some of it I enjoyed, like Mom at 16. That was pretty good. But
at 16.
A dog named Christmas, that was pretty good. But most of it I was like, this is just your average drama movie. It's nothing special. So I stopped doing it. So sorry to all the people that have died in the last month. I didn't watch your movies.
Okay.
But that's where some of this came from. Why I'm watching the most random. Not that I don't anyway.
Yeah.
But that's why I've been watching the most random stuff.
I just love the fact that you've sent me links to more than one dog related movie. And when I say dog movies, of course I'm talking about the ones where like kind of like the Beethoven or the right. Like that type
was
of
Beethoven one of the other ones? Oh, it was.
It was one of them, but it was like part 4 or something
no,
like that.
I think it was just part 2.
Was it?
Okay. I'm going to tell you. So I don't know if that was the one, but Beethoven's second.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So Beethoven's second. This is for everybody out there to hear.
Okay.
It's a family movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is like, it immediately reminded me of you Because
Oh no.
because as I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the Beethoven movies.
Yeah, of course.
Like the father in the Beethoven movie is just Charles Grodin.
Yes.
Who is the dad from Clifford.
Correct.
So I immediately, when I see him, I think of you.
Right.
But then, so this movie is like a family movie. It's like PG light. It's barely PG.
I've seen Beethoven too, and I have a feeling I know where you're going, but keep going.
But there's one scene in the movie
Mm-hmm.
where the daughter, who's just average, like, you know, she falls for like the hottest guy in school,
Mm-hmm.
but it turns out he's a date rapist. And it's the whole time it's like, ooh, we got puppies, ooh. And then all of a sudden it just turns so dark where he like locks her in a room and is like, you know you want this. And I'm like, what the hell am I watching?
I actually think I have to watch this now just to see that transition, man.
Like it's still like it's PG, so it's not like super awful.
Yeah.
But because it is PG, I'm like, I can't believe they threw this in there.
Like, does it give it a creepy vibe?
Oh, extremely
creepy.
Yeah, like the music cues in and be like, oh, you're gonna get it. Like,
so basically, Beethoven 2 has like 10.
He gets saved by Beethoven now.
Yeah.
Beethoven saves the day.
It'd be awesome if
But there's,
Beethoven
like-
just showed up right after.
No, he gets there in time.
Yeah, good. That's good.
But Beethoven 2 has like 10 minutes of like what the entire Clifford movie was. That creepiness that existed throughout the entire Clifford movie.
Yeah. So yeah, just a shout out to Beethoven 2. It's Beethoven's second.
We've come a long way from Detention.
But like that movie, like I'm not recommending Beethoven's second unless you're into cute dogs.
Yeah.
But just beware.
But that moment, I was like, I'm just kind of passively sort of doing other things, watching it. And then I'm like, what? I was legit concerned. I had to sit and just like brace myself. I'm like, they're not going to. And like, holy crap, they're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was an emotional roller coaster for me.
All right, so does anybody want to take this episode off into a completely another tangent, or should we wrap it up? We could try to make Jason late for his appointment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No, we're good. I had a hard time talking about Detention just because I do like it so much. It's really hard to just not be like, this is perfect. This is perfect. It's so for me, it's like it's hard to critique it because it's so good to me.
Yeah.
But I wanted us to do it because I know Eric was frustrated for a while there. Things were hard on him.
He had to give me COVID and try to fucking kill me just to get out of doing this shit.
We had to kind of lighten up the movies, and now apparently Jason thinks we've done too much of that.
I'm taking it back, but you know what? This is it. This is my revenge on you right here. And then we'll go back to some more palatable films.
I mean, from here on out, I am going to make an effort to not be mean.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I can't guarantee you they'll be good. Like that's not my promise. But I won't purposely pick something that's awful.
Oh, I always, anything I pick has to have some redeeming value. Something has to be redeemable. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, that was, as I recall, that was the original point. Was like, Jason and I watch garbage. Can we trick Eric into watching garbage too?
Yeah.
But
even the garbage we watch, I mean, there's always a reason we pick out what we do and enjoy it.
I mean, I legit do enjoy it.
Yeah.
But there's some that I know is bad, and like even for us.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't push that.
Yeah,
I
same. I would not.
I think there is one thing we have to discuss yet, though.
Oh.
So that with this movie, so this has got to come from all of us. We all have to agree. But during Butt Boy, we decided to introduce the concept of a hidden gem movie.
Sure.
Who does anybody here think this should be a hidden gem?
Well, that's pretty much why I wanted to bump this one up, because it was a hidden gem for me.
Yeah.
And I assumed that it was a hidden gem for you guys and anybody, like the 5 people who will hear this. Because it's like
7.
Okay,
7.
It's like,
I thought it was 9.
There was one
That's
episode
probably
I think it
including
was
me.
12. So,
but yeah, this I will be the champion of this movie because I don't know. But Butt Boy, I love Butt Boy, but I think people know that it exists.
Yeah.
This movie, I don't think people even know it exists.
No, and I'd agree. I mean, I may have given it a little bit of a lower rating, but I would say that this is one of those movies that like is kind of a hidden gem.
yeah, I mean,
Like it's not.
if this was a movie, maybe not if this was a movie that everybody knew. But if considering the fact that like neither one of you knew about it until Gavin happened to just stumble upon it more or less, I think that it definitely does qualify in that group.
Yeah.
So
This
everybody
and Disco
gets
Path and should make you watch The Empty Man.
The Empty Man? Yeah, I think I might have seen that. I don't know.
Jason thinks he's seen every movie.
Empty Man's only a couple of years old. It bombed really hard in theaters, but I thought it was really good.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, with that, we'll wrap this episode up. But everybody gets their second hidden gem movie with this one. So that's cool. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with Gary Busey as a dog. Now, if you don't come back for that, I don't know what anybody will come back for, because that's pretty fucking exciting.
Oh, it's not Tom Selleck in Australia? Oh,
So,
crap.
we thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Hobbs and Horror Movie Review Podcast. Join us in 2 weeks for another exciting movie review.